Sponsored by Anthony Mendez.
AM 1220 KDOW and Money 2.0 present The Real Estate Report with Tony Mendez and Gordon Hines. Bay Area real estate and mortgage experts with over 25 years in the business. Now, with an in-depth look at this week's local and national real estate news and what it means for you. Your hosts, Tony Mendez and Gordon Hines.
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
Thanks for being with us today on this glorious day.
Warrior Thursday, I call it.
A glorious day.
Warrior Thursday.
Warriors should be on. Are they on now or are they a little bit later?
I think within the hour.
Within the hour? Go Warriors. It's fantastic. My brother calls me. He's like, I want the Capitals to win so bad. I want to have a legacy for my kids in a town where, there's since they've been alive, of course, team, professional sports team that has won a championship, and they're itching for those Capitals wins. So everybody on the West Coast route. Well, I know there's a lot of Vegas fans. So, speaking of Vegas, did you know that Vegas is in what they call the low end market for the number one destination for Californians to move to if they don't move to somewhere else in California? Well, I speak from experience. 8%.
My brother moved to Vegas about a year ago. My daughter's now attending college in Vegas, UNLV. So I see the California migration. As we talked before, as soon as you hit the I-15, there's rows and rows of brand new houses going up on left side, right side, upside. So the town is booming. The town is growing.
Median list price in Las Vegas and surrounding areas, Henderson and so on, in March 2017 was $260,000 compared to the $720,000 here in the Bay Area. I think that's much higher. It should be more like $800 or so median price. So it's a big comparison, but not everybody's moving to lower priced areas. A lot of people moving to Seattle, a place like Denver and New York, which we've seen those areas get pushed up more and more and more.
Well, people are moving to Seattle because of tech jobs. A lot of people are moving. Tech jobs are moving up in the Pacific Northwest. So you're seeing a lot of people moving to Texas. Austin is another big tech mecca town as far as competition for competent employees, not just employees, tech-savvy employees. A lot of these companies are trying to move to a spot where they have competent employment. That's why sometimes the small towns in the Midwest and those places aren't as attractive because they just don't have the qualified employment. That's why companies don't move there.
And there's incentives for these places to bring in these companies and make it cheap. I mean, I think the theme of our story, or the theme of our show today, and you look at this other story here, Facebook. Facebook says it needs to address high-priced housing if we're going to remain in a company in Silicon Valley. That's huge. They have to be competitive. The housing has to be competitive in order for them to attract new workers. And they've been pretty active in trying to spearhead some affordable housing in the Bay Area, and I think they've been successful, but it's not making a big enough dent. So people are saying, you know what, we're going to go find those jobs in smaller cities. Sacramento is the number one choice for Bay Area residents to move to. Places like Reno and Las Vegas and other parts of the valley, Portland and Seattle. Seattle hit the top of the list as far as the fastest growing city in the United States. I think it was like 13% in 2017 as far as year over year growth. Las Vegas was second. So we're seeing a lot of the Californians pushing these home prices up there. What do you think about the investment opportunities for someone to go there and just, if somebody's not going to buy, but they're still moving there, but you can get into some good rentals while the prices are still growing?
Well, a lot of investors do that. People that are at the top of their game are always forecasting, pre-planning, and as they watch employment shifts, they watch city growth, they watch as cities get better. Astute investors are already in these locations buying up properties, trying to get the upside. Going back to something you mentioned earlier, Facebook, I'm not sure if I agree with that statement. The problem with Facebook and these type of companies, they pay so well. So let's say, for example, Facebook decided to move their headquarters from Menlo Park to Tuskegee, Alabama. The problem is when they move there, their employees get paid so well, they start running up housing. So it's just a matter of time before the affordable housing that was to those people that lived there, all of a sudden now is out of reach. So, it's like which came
first,
in
Reno.
Yeah, it just happens all the time. So these companies say a lot of things, but these companies are so, the growth is so great, the income is so great, it's kind of hard to change the formula.
Well, we got Amazon and we have Apple looking at New headquarters around the United States, Raleigh, places like Northern Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York, and other places across the nation are destinations for this. And it might happen. We'll call it the Amazon effect. We have the Tesla effect in Reno, where home prices are hitting, just last month, hitting a new high, going back all the way to 2006. So it's hit a new high. I think it's $380,000 for a median home price. Even places like Sparks, which is really, in rents too. Rents are going skyrocketing in places like Sparks because it's so close to that industrial parkway where they're building all of that, just outside of Washoe County and towards Fernley. And all of these places are being affected. So, yeah, you have a point. But as far as an investor is concerned, you can see the trends. I mean, we've been seeing it for a while. We've been talking about Reno for how long?
Yeah, ever since I think Tesla said they were going to put a battery plant there. I think, in my honest opinion, I think these companies are better off moving around transportation hubs. I think transportation hubs allows for more flexibility, allows for people to commute from further distances to kind of really spread out that housing costs. You know, an hour by train, I grew up in Brooklyn, so an hour by train is nothing. You can be very, very productive sitting on a train for an hour, getting work done. You know, so as long as they move within a transportation hub, I think it's better than looking around housing.
Good news, too, is lenders are warming up a little bit more to the telecommute, as well as the super commute, by whether it's by car or by train or by plane. We know that there's a company here in the Bay Area that actually houses all of their lawyers in like Houston or something like that, and they fly them in once a week, and it's cheaper for them. So there is a migration out of the Bay Area and out of expensive areas, but a lot of companies, let's just say Facebook, are allowing people to work, are creating jobs where people can work from home and telecommute. We're doing a client right now as a primary residence in Sacramento, all right, and they actually, their headquarters are here, and one of the spouses actually works here, so they're going to figure something out where it works. But a lot of people are doing that because they can buy a bigger house in a better school district and have a yard, and they'll deal with the other stuff later. But there's an interesting story. Vermont. If you really want to telecommute, Vermont will pay you $10,000 to move there and work remotely. So starting in 2019, Vermont will pay people who will move there and work remotely for an out-of-state employer. They'll give them $10,000 over 2 years to cover relocation expenses, co-working memberships, computers, internet, and other work-related expenses. You know, they've been, you know, a state like Vermont, we want some people come in. We want to get some revenue. We want some taxes and, you know, buy a home here. And how much is a home in Vermont? I can't imagine it's that expensive.
Well, most people don't realize that's how Florida became popular. Florida had the most liberal laws. If you go back to Florida, was traditionally swampland and high temperatures. To attract residents, that's the reason why they say Florida is one of the better states to live in from an economic standpoint because of the costs. You know, I think the best place to file bankruptcy is in the state of Florida. I think everything is kind of forgiven. You can keep everything and still file bankruptcy. So a lot of different things. That's the reason why some of these states are doing these things to attract people. All on TV commercials. Michigan was running an ad trying to get people to move there, companies to move there. Texas, you know, because it's a competitive bid, and they realize how much with the economic value of companies coming in, high-paying jobs, you know. Bad neighborhoods become better neighborhoods, just like happened in our local areas here. As the market got better, we found a lot of bad neighborhoods actually got better because more people now are moving in because neighborhoods don't hurt people, people do. So as the transition of people change and the demographics of neighborhood changes, the whole outcome, the whole flavor changes of that neighborhood.
We're in a new era. I think people are going to start grasping a lot of the stories are around where baby boomers are retiring, where millennials, how many millennials are living at home so they can, you know, save enough money for a house, and where are they going to move when they eventually do buy a house. And a lot of this is stemmed because home prices and interest rates are going up. We've seen this, you know, for the last 2 or 3 years. It's been a very big theme. People are fearful that interest rates are going to make homes more unaffordable. And it's kind of like a trifecta. And then you have inventory. Inventory is down as well. So you got those three things working against you right now. A lot of people wonder, though, Gordon, when you put those three things together, why home prices aren't going down when you have higher rates and lower inventory and affordability levels are hurt.
Well, home prices are not going to go down if the demand is still strong. If you look at the economics of home prices, if demand outpaces supply, you're not going to see anything going down. I think the trend would turn once supply start outpacing demand. That's just the economics of home prices. Now, as the market goes up and up and up and up, at some point in time, we'll start to see the market kind of level off and taper off, and eventually that will eventually slow the prices down. But right now, as long as demand outpaces supply, you're not going to see the prices to go down in home prices.
Yeah, and that's kind of a whole nother thing too, is a lot of people are starting to say their realtors are saying, oh, maybe you should wait a little bit and see what happens with home prices and see if they come down. So we're hearing a little bit more about that, and there's definitely, you could look anywhere and you can find stories. You'll always find a story where somebody's saying, oh yeah, we're a little priced out. And
realtors been saying that for the last 3 years. How long do you wait? I've seen people make hundreds of thousands of dollars by not sitting on the fence. So it's kind of really hard to tell a client to wait, and the market keeps running up and up and up. At what point in time do you get in? It's like watching a stock. Stock is at $30 and you want to get in, you don't. You're sitting on the sideline, run up to 50. You're not sure it keeps running. You don't know when the proper point of entry is, because at some point
I don't know.
I think dipping.
People are getting a little bit more nervous, and we have buyers that make really good money, and they're still a little nervous. And I can buy that house in cash, but I'm worried. So I'm just hearing a little bit more about that. I'm not saying that that's the sign of the times, but I don't know. A lot of consumer, Robert Shiller from the Case-Shiller Report, he said that every recession has been started by consumer sentiment, speculation in this case. And speculation could go either way. With that said, 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220 to call.
Or email.
Tony at BayAreaLoanSource.com or Gordon at BayAreaLoanSource.com. Freddie Mac Weekly Survey has the 30-year fixed at 4.56% for a conforming loan in the Bay Area. That's under $453,000. Jumbo rates are pretty good too. So good equity. You need, you need 20% down. You need higher credit scores for jumbos, but the jumbo rates are fantastic. It's one of the reasons why we are seeing the higher home prices being driven, because there's good rates out there still. And I don't want people to think when you hear these headlines that interest rates are spiking. We're 4.56%. Back in 2007, our last peak, our rates were in the sixes. So we still have that, and incomes are higher than they were then. So what's the formula here? Can home prices keep going up? Probably.
Well, I call it rates are on the pendulum. They swing up, down, sideways, up all the time. It's a never ongoing change. You mentioned earlier about jumbo rates, and one of the things that we talked about before, and what's really happened over the last many years, is the difference between jumbo rates and conforming, anything below which is now 453,100 and 679,000, has really, that gap has small. It used to be between a point and a quarter. Now they're about the same. So that's what's the economics once again. It's the reason why those high home prices are still staying up, because those rates are still affordable.
So we'll come back after this break here on AM 1220 KDOW. I'm Tony Mendez. That's Gordon Hines. You can always go to our website, BayAreaLoanSource.com. You can join our newsletter. Again, you can call the show 800-516-1220. We have some U.S. home prices. They climbed in March again. So these are some of the stories we're going to keep talking about throughout the show. We'll be right back.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
So if there was not a better example of how Californians like to spend money, you can go to the Warriors game and you can sit, second row, third row back and spend how much? 20 grand?
Yeah. The first row behind the seats on the ground on the floor level was 20,000 at the 50-yard line, as we call it.
Right. So you can go to Cleveland and watch the Warriors play in Game 4.
Game 3, actually.
Well, this is Game 4.
Okay,
right
Game
here.
4. Okay.
And you can spend, for the same tickets, row 6 in this case, $2,500. So you get a flight out there for $1,000 round trip, a couple people, and you get 2 tickets, $5,000. So you spend $7,000. So you just
saved a lot of
money, and you get to watch the Warriors.
Yeah, the only difference is the crowd be rooting for the different team. As long as you can make that adjustment
If they're winning
and make it out of their place alive, then you're all right.
I don't know
Right?
anything about going to Cleveland and wearing the other colors. So
There you have it. So you'd have to
you go to a
blend
hockey
in.
game, that's a little different story. You can pretty much count on, you know what,
Being harassed. Yeah.
getting harassed a little bit, if that's what you want to call it. So, so I guess the theme of the show today is, what Californians are doing when they're looking to buy a house. If they don't already own a house, if they own a house and they're moving a little bit of equity around, we're seeing a lot of people moving out of the peninsula and coming out to the East Bay, looking for a bigger house. We're looking for people in the East Bay that own a house that are watching, counties, Contra Costa and Alameda counties, looking at double-digit year-over-year increases in home prices, and they're taking that equity out a little bit farther east. How far east are people going, Gordon, before it just stops? And because we just saw the other day that BART is not going to move or extend their line out to Livermore, and people in Livermore are like, oh, dang it. But that affected home prices because now you got to go through that 580 corridor and you get stopped right there at 680 and you sit there in traffic for a lot longer, or you just park it. You have to drive down and get on BART there. So are things clicking enough for people to continue moving out farther as far as mass transit and the commuting part of that?
Well, the key is affordable housing. You find a lot of people that have been priced out the marketplace. Like, say you're a renter in Oakland, you're paying $2,500 for rent. Your rent keeps going up. You can't buy anything in Oakland. You tend to start looking east or looking the outskirts, looking at the metropolises. So as you kind of weigh in your transportation costs, how far you can afford to move from the hub, what are the actual options are, and if you said if BART was going to go out to Livermore, that would add a little bit more further east you can go because you got a shorter distance to come west to pick up public transportation. So those are all the things that people. Matter of fact, we're doing a loan for a client right now. They work here in Oakland, and they're moving all the way down to the Central Valley because they can't find anything in Oakland. They want a big house with a pool. They got kids. So they said, hey, we want to move out to the area, and that's what we're doing. And they're moving all the way down to Newman, which is it's like an hour 15-minute commute, hour and a half on traffic, I'm assuming. But they weigh the options, and the schools out there are adequate, and they feel good in moving in that direction. So that's what people do for affordable housing. They move to where a place that they can afford.
So it wouldn't be a real estate show if we didn't talk a little bit about mortgages and how mortgages are playing into the ability for people to buy homes, whether it's here or a little farther away. There's a lot of options. The products are there. Lenders are really looking at a borrower that's saying, I'm going to move an hour to an hour and a half away or 100 miles away. And they're saying, okay, you can do that as a primary residence because it's starting to work. It's starting to make sense. I don't want to, go too far and say that lenders, banks, investors, however you want to say it, are itching for money because we're looking at applications are dropping another 3.9% week over week, and they're looking for any kind of funds and transaction they do. I was talking to a lender the other day that said, I wouldn't be surprised if there was something called an implodometer. Implode-meter.com or something like that. And you could track lenders that were going out of business. This is back in 2008, 9, 10. He said he wouldn't be surprised if that comes back up again because lenders are just not making enough money. Big banks, we already know, big banks are moving away from the riskier loans. They're going to all A paper. And they're not cornering the market by any means because the brokerage side or wholesale side is still the majority of the originations right now. But the guidelines are working across the board. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, the big volume, most people don't realize, the big volume have always been delivered by banking. Big boxes typically didn't produce the big volume. What happened was as we came out of the crash, lenders got more and more conservative. So you found a lot of people, these companies started branching off into mortgage banking and started delivering a lot of volume to the marketplace. So now, as we see, the market's about to change again. Lenders have gone now to what they call risk-based pricing, and the banks have gone to what they call wealth management. So there's more of an opportunity there for the mortgage banking side.
I'm going to talk a little bit about what a scenario would look like for somebody that's renting and then moving a little farther out and how that would look for them as far as taxes and everything like that. We'll come back after this break here on AM 1220 KDOW.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
You can always call the show 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220, or email the show, Tony at BayAreaLoanSource.com or Gordon at BayAreaLoanSource.com. You're renting. You're watching RentScope. We're working with a client right now, and she lives in Peninsula, and her rent's going from $3,200 to $3,500. What does a rent equal into a mortgage payment? So let's say you're renting for $2,600, for example. What does that equal into a mortgage payment after you get the deductions and the principal payment that you make every month? So I ran some figures during the break. I ran a $700,000 house with 20% down. So let's say you're renting for $2,500 and you are looking at a $700,000 house. You have $140,000 down. If you were to put this at 4.625% at a 25% tax rate, your payments around $3,600 minus about $535 in interest deduction, minus $182 in property tax deduction, and minus $700 in principal payment that you make every month to your balance. You're actually paying $2,175. You're paying less than if you were renting. So is the math still there, Gordon, though, as we see our median home price keep going up, and can people find the right properties with such low inventory right now, over asking price, and you still have to come up with that 20% down? Well, you don't have to. I mean, you can do 3.5% down to a loan amount of almost $700,000. So you can come up with less money, and the math gets a little bit more lopsided towards renting instead of buying. But what are people looking at?
Well, I think your example sounds good in theory, but of course the biggest challenge, of course, is for most people, especially young people, is saving for that down payment. $140,000 is a lot of money. Consider
with that rent so high.
Consider if you look at the savings rate in the country is so low. Very few people save. Most people live from what they call paycheck to paycheck, and very few people save. So unless you come across a windfall, you get a lawsuit, some type of settlement, some type of inheritance, it's kind of really hard for a young couple to save $140,000 to put down 20% on a $700,000 property. Now, what I can see is for a young couple with the $700,000 property, putting down 3.5%, which will give them enough to qualify for an FHA loan, because right now the FHA loan in high-cost areas, I think, is $679,950. Now, they can do that. The payment's a little bit higher because the down payment typically leverages the monthly payment. So since you're not putting up the big down payment, you won't be able to leverage your monthly payment any lower. So you're looking at a higher loan amount, and we'll just have to figure out what the tax and all the other additional benefits that you get as a homeowner would equate to in dollars and cents.
We didn't factor that into that
formula. We got to look at the cost of home ownership. There's a cost of ownership.
Maintenance,
utilities, all those kind of good things that you typically get to write off with the landlord. Typically, landlords pay water.
You might also be driving a lot farther to work.
So, you got to look at that whole formula. I think it's something to look at because at the end of the day, appreciation is so strong here. We were talking about a reverse mortgage earlier, and on this reverse mortgage calendar that we were looking at, this mortgage saying in 20 years, this house that we're looking at is going to be worth $1.8 million. In a modest neighborhood. That's how they do their projections, because they're using future value in order to continue to pay out current benefits. So these are all the things that the mathematicians and the statisticians do to kind of make these formulas work.
Yeah, and I don't mind an FHA loan. Let me rephrase that. I don't mind a low down payment product, especially if you're a little nervous that home prices could fall a little bit, right? But then again, if you only realize a loss if you sell your house. So if you plan on staying in the house, you get an FHA loan or any other low down payment product. A lot of people don't realize you can get a high balance loan, which is $679,000 with 10% down and no mortgage insurance. Those products are there, and you can minimize, or maximize your buying power that way. And then if you work with a good agent and you get a good offer and you get the seller to pay for a little bit of the standard fees, and you're not overbidding too much, and you have a little bit just in case that the prices, you have to offer a little bit more, and you work the deal the right way, and you have somebody kind of holding your hand through the process.
That's what we do. Not
which
somebody.
Is what we do.
We hold your hand through the process. We're here to
make a lot
and get your finances through.
You can always email your scenarios to us, Tony at BayAreaLoanSource.com or Gordon at BayAreaLoanSource.com. Website's a great resource as well, BayAreaLoanSource.com. You can get our podcast there as well. We'll come right back here on AM 1220 KDOW. I'm Tony Mendez. That's Gordon Hines, and this is the Real Estate Report.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
Thanks for being with us. You can call the show 800-516-1220 or email the show Tony at BayAreaLoanSource.com or Gordon at BayAreaLoanSource.com.
Yeah, normally we call this Drive Time Thursday, but today's Warrior Thursday. I imagine everybody has made it home anxiously to watch the game. First playoff game back to the Bay Area, 4 years in a row. Quite an accomplishment. So that's why the Bay Area is so desirable. You know, multiple things happening, everything happening, cities, everything is doing well here. All cylinders are pumping, and that goes to show you that our basketball team is doing well.
Traffic's a little pain in the butt right now.
Traffic?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are starting to feel the crunch. A lot of people are going to work earlier, and it's stretching out the commute a little bit longer. And
Well, you take
rush
mass
hour.
transit here to the office. So you're bar
I do when
rider,
I
so-
can.
yeah,
I do, and it drops me off right at the office,
Yeah.
and it's fantastic. And I do that 3 days a week, and it makes a lot of sense. And I counter commute, which is, but the trains going the other way are packed, like wall to wall people standing up. And imagine buying a house, let's say in Lafayette where we are, and you figure you're going to take a BART into San Francisco, and by the time the BART gets in, you have to either crunch in there or wait for the next train, which by the way will also be packed. It's getting a little bit busy out there.
Well, that's New York life. That's what I grew up in. I traveled to high school 4 years in a row to high school. It took an hour to get there. Train was always super packed. I learned to read and write standing up. You know, if I got a seat, the only time you get a seat is on like a holiday, and we would never get a seat on a train. But
Someone's
you
getting seats.
You learn to work. Yeah, because by the time the train got to our stop where we live, it was already crowded. So we never got a seat. So you learn to watch people and kind of learn who's going to get off.
So
the
is
train.
that the ticket? You
Yeah.
buy a house the farthest station out so that you
First
get
day,
a
so
seat?
you get a
Okay.
seat. So there you have it. Behind
like
every dark cloud,
interesting
is a silver
mindset.
lining. Yeah.
We got an email from Kathy. Kathy is interested in doing a cash out refinance, and she wants to know if she should pay off some credit card debt. I think that a lot of people run into the problem where they're looking at the current loan that they have or the rate that they have and looking at interest rates a little bit higher and wondering if it makes sense to take cash out to get out of the debt. In a lot of cases, it does. When we run the numbers on credit card payments, for every dollar that you owe to a credit card as a payment translates into about 30 cents on a mortgage. So if it's about the monthly payment, then sometimes that'll make sense. But I'm about to send out an email on all the reasons why you should refinance, or what are the reasons to refinance. It's not always about lowering the rate. There's other reasons. You want to take some cash out. You want to change your term. You want to change, change title. You want to go from an ARM to a fixed, or you want to get rid of a second loan. There's so many reasons to get out of it, but be careful of the people out there that are telling you that you should refinance when it doesn't make sense. So just be really careful. Make sure you run the numbers. But in this case, credit card debt is one of those things that people get into. The only problem about paying off credit card debt, and Gordon, I know you've seen this, I've seen it, is people pay off their credit card debt and they just run it right back up.
Yeah, they're debt users. High debt users should not be paying stuff off because just a matter of time before they run up. But interestingly, most of the calls that I've been fielding the last week or two has been a lot of people looking to refinance. They're taking advantage of the equity position for one thing only. They don't want cash out. They're looking to cut the term on loans. I got a guy today. I did a loan 3 years ago, 3 years to the date. He called me yesterday. He said he wanted to look at a 15-year mortgage. He didn't want to take any cash out. He knows his payment's going to go up, but he want to pay that loan off sooner. He's 48 years old. He said, if I do a 15-year loan, I'm going to accelerate payments. I'm going to pay this house off in 10 years because he's only 3 years into that 30-year loan. It makes sense. So I ran the numbers for him. His payment's only going to go up $600, and he can well afford it. He works for the city of Berkeley. So, these are the kind of calls that we've been getting. The rate's going to be the same. Right now, the 3.875 on a 30-year fix is going to be 3.875. I quoted him today on a 15-year fix. So, he's happy, and, that's what people are doing. He's going to tie in his equity by advancing his payments by shorter term on his loan.
Yeah, so there's a pretty easy formula if you want to figure out if a refinance makes sense, and that is to take your current payment and multiply it by your remaining term, and then look at the new refinance, take the new payment and multiply it by the new term, and which one is the smaller number makes more sense, unless you need the money. There's a lot of, we're seeing, it's not just home prices that are going up, gas prices are going up, milk, steak. We saw steak and beef several years ago just skyrocket. So everything's starting to cost more money. People are figuring out ways to manage that kind of expense. But if you need the money now, sometimes re-amortizing your loan can help you stretch those payments out. A lot of people, we run into more seniors that have a mortgage. Seniors meaning people who have retired. I'm not trying to classify them that way, but people who have retired going into retirement with a mortgage and refinancing before they go into retirement. So they have they re-amortize, their payment goes lower. So actually, I just remember that's something else on that list of reasons to refinance. You're going to retire or you're going to quit your job.
Well, we've got a lot of seniors that do call us about refinance for cash out to give it to their youngins to buy a property, become homeowners. That's what we're seeing a lot of that too. As long as they have enough money coming in, you know, as they say, that's the reason why the reverse mortgage is popular, because there's no sense in owning something that's free and clear and it's not bringing a benefit. So they can take some cash out and they can still afford a monthly payment and give that money to their youngins to buy a house, become homeowners. That's a winning hand.
If there was one answer to the question of how, and let's say you're a renter and you're listening to the show and you're looking for the secret to buy a house or get a down payment, most of the people that we're seeing are getting gifts from their parents of some sort of equity gift, or just cash from a stock portfolio, or inheritance of some sort. We're seeing a lot of that. And there's no escaping the taxes. You buy $1 million house, you're paying $1,000 a month in property taxes. You still have your homeowner's insurance, and then you have a mortgage. So a lot of these...
I mean, what a great gift, right? I mean, I did a loan for a couple the other day, bought $1 million house, put down $400,000, got $400,000 gift from their parents. I mean, that's a great start for a young couple just starting out. We were talking about earlier, saving $140,000. Could you imagine how long it would have taken them to save $400,000?
Yep.
They got that gift equity from their parents. I didn't quiz them where the money came from, but they got the gift. The money went in the account. They have a $600,000 mortgage on them. They got 40% equity going in, assuming that the market doesn't change much. I mean, if it's an upside market, they're going to make more money. So there you have it. So those are different options. That's why people take cash out. There's many different reasons why people do different things, and just make sure it works for you. Don't do it because I did it. It works for me. It's got to work for you and for your particular financial situation.
More and more millennials are looking for options to buy a house or pay off their student loan debt. It's one of the problems that we keep seeing since the early 2000s. Where does it all end is for the millennials, which is supposedly the largest buying pool out there right now, bigger than any other previous generation. We're here to help. You can email us, Tony at BayAreaLoanSource.com or Gordon at BayAreaLoanSource.com. We'll be right back after this break here on AM 1220 KDOW. This is the Real Estate Report.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
Thanks for being with us today. Drive Time Thursday. Warriors should be starting up soon.
Warrior Thursday.
And go Warriors. I think that's fantastic. I got the Caps, so I'm rooting for the hockey team Caps at the same time. So I got two teams right now in some sort of championship, and then it's baseball for a long time. And thank God for Tiger Woods being out there, because then we have a little bit of golf to watch. So home prices, they're climbing at a rate not seen since pre-crisis boom, 6.9%, which they say the fastest since 2006, and the highest rate for any quarter since 2013. So if you're sitting on the fence and you keep seeing these numbers, single-family homes are leading the way by, I think, what they say, 13% or something like that, compared to a townhouse or some sort of multi-unit or a condo. So single-family houses seem to be the big high-ticket product right now. And there's products out there, speaking of mortgage products, that are really making it a lot easier for people to qualify, whether or not you still have to make money to afford, but qualify. But one of the big things we're seeing here in the Bay Area, Gordon, is the ability for people to move from one house to another, and maybe sometimes downsize or upsize or move to a different school district. Even if they own a house with a lot of equity, they still have to qualify for the new taxes and the new payment and so on. And you ran into a friend just recently who had a scenario that
I got a friend
was
of mine.
kind of pretty typical of what we see.
He's got twin daughters. He just said he just come back from Boston. One of them just graduated from Boston College. The other one's moving to, believe it or not, Las Vegas, because she's going to get married. Her beau there is an entertainer on the Strip. So he was saying, Gordon, we got this 4-bedroom house, 3 levels up here in the hills, great views of all the bay, and it's a big enough house for me and my wife, and we need to do something. He said, we'd like to downsize because we really don't need this 4,000 square foot house. But hey, what can we do? I said, well, the problem in downsizing is you're going to really have to really move into a different neighborhood and forget those views. It's kind of really hard. So he said to me, well, I got a second story downstairs. I can kind of redevelop that second story, make it into an auxiliary unit. I said, as long as it's owner occupied, California passed that law where you're allowed to make an auxiliary unit. You might want to, you can do one or two things. You can move downstairs into the auxiliary unit and rent the upstairs house and still stay in the same neighborhood and still have your same neighborhoods, or you can vice versa. You can build out the auxiliary unit, rent the auxiliary, and stay in the big house. So that's one of the good things where options are so important, and it's the greatest thing in life is to have options. And when you have options, sometimes you end up doing nothing because you have options, but there's nothing like having options. Here's this guy who worked all his life, worked hard, got his kids through college. He said he got them through college by paying cash. He didn't have a lot of student loans, so he's starting them out on a good shelf. And here he is looking to take himself to another good shelf by staying in the neighborhood, by doing different options, by bringing income on that house.
Yeah, so real estate does give a lot of options to people after many, many years of building that equity, paying down that principal balance. And I like the fact that he can do that. And we are seeing a lot of people in the Bay Area look at options like that instead of downsizing or upsizing. They're just staying in their house and they're figuring out what to do, whether it's maybe renting out a room or building onto their garage or converting their garage or building out the basement. Still, the trouble is the issue is inventory. Inventory is tight. It does not look like it's going to ease up at all. We're seeing the spring season and the big buying season is right now. It's the biggest buying season of the year, and we're still short on inventory. So it gives that buyer that's sitting out there a little bit of a challenge. We always say be prepared. Get a good realtor, get a good loan agent. We can help you. You can always send your scenarios to us, Tony at BayAreaLoanSource.com or Gordon, and we can help you. It's all, we want to, don't get intimidated. Don't give up. There's going to be a house out there for you.
As long as you have a strategy and a will, we'll make it happen.
We'll come back next week. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tony Mendez. That's Gordon Hines. You can always reach us at BayAreaLoanSource.com. This is the Real Estate Report on AM 1220 KDOW. Thanks for joining us, and go Warriors.